Skip. But when does this game get fucking good?
Hello, and welcome back. From the terribly adapted Dragon Ball Evolution and then the disappointing Cowboy Bebop reboot, to cult classics like Scooby-Doo and the more popularly loved The Witcher, but only Season 1 though. Today, I want to show you some live-action adaptations that really did it right. Ones that respected their source material, captured the heart of what made the original special, and were just genuinely fun to watch. So join me as we go through some of the best live-action adaptations out there, at least in my opinion. Now, when people hear live action, they usually think of disasters like the chaotic Monster Hunter movie, or the painfully misguided Avatar: The Last Airbender remake. But don't worry, because in the handful of movies and shows I'm about to recommend, I'm confident you'll find at least a few that are actually worth your time. And of course, if I miss your favorite, make sure to drop it in the comments below. That's right, first up, it's the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Don't let the rubber suits or the VHS era lighting fool you. This movie absolutely nails the heart of TMNT. It blends the darker, grittier tone of the original Mirage comics with the humor and goofiness of the 87 cartoons. Each turtle feels spot on. Leonardo's calm leadership, Donatello's techie curiosity, Michelangelo's non-stop jokes and pizza obsession, and most importantly, Raphael's fiery temper, which is practically the emotional spine of this entire movie. His fight with Casey Jones on the park, his rooftop brawl that leaves him injured, and even his quiet moments sitting alone on the farmhouse add a real depth to the character that many people usually know as the angry one. And the fight scenes? Oh my god, dude. Look at this. It's shockingly impressive for actors performing martial arts inside of heavy foam suits. The showdown in the antique shop. The Foot Clan ambush. And the rooftop final battle with Shredder all hold up remarkably well. Speaking of Shredder, this is one of the most intimidating portrayals ever. Calm, calculated, and treated almost like a cult leader by the Foot. Despite being nearly 40 years old, this film still works in 2025 because it tells a clear, grounded story. It's just four brothers trying to grow up, stay hidden, and protect the people they care about. In just 90 minutes, it introduces the Turtles, April O'Neil, Casey Jones, the Foot Clan, Splinter's backstory, and delivers heartfelt moments at the farmhouse that still land today. Rewatch it, and I promise by the end, you'll exactly remember or find out why this movie became a cult classic. Now, speaking of cult classics... Do I even have to explain this one? If you didn't grow up watching this, shame on you, because Scooby-Doo is peak early 2000 camp comedy in the best way possible, and the movie feels exactly like a feature-length episode of the cartoon. Goofy mysteries, exaggerated villains, classic meddling kids energy, and the casting, oh my god, perfect. Freddie Prinze Jr. is Fred. Sarah Michelle Gellar nails Daphne's danger-prone but determined vibe. And Matthew Lillard gives one of the most accurate live-action performances of an animated character ever put on film. He literally became Shaggy. And Linda Cardellini's Velma? Oh my god. And Neil Fanning's Scooby is unmatched, of course. This movie embraces the absurdity of its premise. Monsters made from protoplasm, soul-swapping rituals, Scrappy-Doo going full-on supervillain. It's self-aware chaos in the best way possible. That energy continues in Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, which somehow gets even more faithful to the cartoon. The sequel brings classic villains to life, like the 10,000 Volt Ghost, Miner 49er, the Black Knight Ghost, and my personal favorite, the Pterodactyl Ghost. It feels like the writers dumped a bucket of nostalgia on the screen, and honestly it works. If you haven't watched these in years, I recommend you treat yourself, because they're comfort movies, they're childhood healing, and they're easily two of the best live-action cartoon adaptations ever made.
He's back in it!
Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Speaking of healing your inner child, Speed Racer. Maybe you watched the old anime, maybe you didn't, but this movie stands entirely on its own as a visual fever dream in the best way possible. When it dropped, people didn't know what to make of it. The hyper-saturated colors, the anime-style editing, the drifting physics that break every law of motion. It was way too ahead of its time. Fast forward today, and it's widely considered an underrated masterpiece, and one of the most accurate anime-to-film translations ever made. The Wachowskis really committed to the bit here. Races feel like Mario Karts on steroids, with cars flipping through the air like Beyblades, and tracks that look like they were designed by someone who drank 4 Four Locos for breakfast. The Casa Cristo Cross Country race alone is worth the full price of admission in my opinion. It's full of car foo, sabotaging, flipping vehicles, and speed refusing to give up despite the impossible odds. But beneath the neon chaos is a surprisingly heartfelt story about family loyalty, corporate corruption, and staying true to your passions. The bond between Speed and his parents, especially Pops, hits harder than anyone expects to going into the movie about rainbow racetracks. If you want a sci-fi racing film with personality, world building, and pure visual style, this is absolutely the one.
You told me the story of the war, when the ground shook and the sky burned. Of the ones that survived, who awoke to a different world, where the powerful prey on the weak.
I won't make you watch the trailer. You can watch that for yourself. But when Alita Battle Angel first came out, a lot of people, including you probably, weren't familiar with the manga Gundam, or the 90s OVA. But once you've seen the original material, you realize just how faithful this adaptation really is. The world of Iron City is brought to life with incredible detail, the layered streets, the scrapyard aesthetic, and the looming presence of Salem above it all. Rosa Salazar's performance captured Alita perfectly in the movie. Curious, fierce, kind, and uncomfortably good at tearing apart cyborgs when they pushed her too far. James Cameron producing and co-writing this was a surprise to many, but you can absolutely feel his influence. The world building, the emotional core, the action set pieces, all have that Cameron touch. The motorball scenes are pure cinematic adrenaline, and Alita's fight in the bar where she wipes the floor with bounty hunters twice her size, is one of the best. If you're into cyberpunk worlds with unique tech, body modifications, and morally great characters, well then this movie's a great entry point. And if you end up loving it, going back to the original manga or the old anime feels like discovering the deeper layers of a world you've already fallen into.
Hold on, listen. Okay, do it.
On your feet, maggot!
Sticking to the futuristic sci-fi genre for now, the 2014 Edge of Tomorrow is based on Japanese sci-fi novel All You Need Is Kill by Hiroshi Sakurazaka, and it is one of those adaptations that quietly dropped, impressed a lot of people who saw it, and still somehow feels underrated in my opinion. The original 2004 novel is fast, brutal, and is packed with clever time loop mechanics as well, and the movie takes the foundation of it and adds the blockbuster action, writing, and Tom Cruise on top of it. Cruise plays Major William Cage, a PR officer with zero combat experience who gets thrown onto the front lines of humanity's war against the Mimics, terrifying multi-limbed aliens that move like a glitching video file, if that makes sense. Emily Blunt also owns the film as Rita Veratsky, the Angel of Verdun, a legendary soldier whose fame is built on surviving impossible odds. Her no-nonsense attitude, unshakable confidence, and complete willingness to train and repeatedly kill Tom Cruise into competence gives the movie its emotional weight. The training montage where she shoots him in the head every time he breaks something, iconic in my opinion.
Hold on, listen. Okay, do it.
On your feet, maggot!
I know earlier I mentioned Speed Racer as one of those stylish adaptations, but if we're really talking about faithful, fun, and genuinely creative live-action adaptations, we have to mention Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Edgar Wright went absolutely hard on this one, in the best way possible. The comic book transitions, the music, the goofy fight scenes that feel like a video game cutscene, everything is just so on brand. It's one of those rare movies where the style is the storytelling, and it honestly might be the gold standard for how to adapt stylized source material. I know it was adapted again from a live action into an anime, which I still haven't seen yet, so if you have, do let me know how it was and if I should watch it. And now let's talk The Witcher, but specifically Season 1, because, yeah, we all know what happened after that. But Season 1, that was something special. Henry Cavill was Geralt, down to the voice, the stoic sarcasm, the ethics of monster hunting, and even doing his own sword choreography. The monster encounters felt straight out of the books, like the Striga episode, which is almost a perfect adaptation of Sapkowski's short story. The timelines, while confusing, were actually a very clever nod to the structure of The Last Wish and The Sword of Destiny, which are collections of non-linear short stories. And the world felt alive. The bustling marketplaces, the chaos of the Sintra invasion, and the tensions between the mages and the political undercurrents building in the background. It wasn't perfect, but it respected the lore while it lasted, and it respected the characters, and it delivered a gritty fantasy world that genuinely felt lived in and dangerous. Next up is The Boys, which is honestly one of the very few adaptations that surpasses the source material. The comics were edgy, mostly for shock value, while the show uses that same energy to actually critique celebrity culture, corporate power, militarization, and America's obsession with branding. The writing for characters like Homelander and Butcher is miles deeper than the comic in my opinion. Homelander especially is terrifying because of how human he seems. The insecurity, the mommy issues, the need for admiration. Season 3's Herogasm could have been pure shock, but the show turned it into a wild mix of satire and emotional payoff. And the production value? Insane. From the airplane scene to the whale scene to blowing people up in creative ways, the show balances disturbing moments with sharp, meaningful commentary. If you're not watching it yet, I genuinely envy you because you get to experience arguably one of the most gripping superhero stories on TV from the very beginning.
You'd rather die for some piece of shit that you don't even fucking know?
And 3 assholes laying into one guy while everybody else watches? And you wanna know what's wrong with me? Yeah, I'd rather die
doing this. You're going to die in that stupid costume.
And finally, Kick-Ass. This one is pure chaotic fun, but with actual heart behind all the wild moments. It keeps the gritty, ultra-violence tones of Mark Millar's comic, but trims away a lot of the unnecessary edginess to make room for real character development. Dave's whole journey from a painfully average, invisible teenager to someone who decides to try being a hero just because he wants to matter hits way harder in the movie in my opinion. Hit Girl and Big Daddy are standouts. Chloe Grace Moretz being insane physically and a charm to Hit Girl. And Nicolas Cage does this bizarrely perfect Adam West inspired delivery that somehow works beautifully. The action scenes are slick, clean, and stylish, especially Hit Girl's hallway fights and the warehouse rescue. And instead of going full bleak like the comic, the films lean into its absurdity and ends up being surprisingly uplifting. This isn't a page-to-screen copy. It's a creative reimagining that respects the core of the story while making it more fun, more watchable, and more emotionally grounded. And just to touch on Kick-Ass 2, while it didn't quite capture the same lightning-in-a-bottle energy as the first film, it still had its moments, especially seeing Dave try to grow into a more legitimate hero and watching Hit Girl struggle between her vigilante side and trying to live a normal teenage life. It's a bit messier, a bit darker, but if you love the first movie and you just want more time with these characters, it's worth the watch. So there you have it, some genuinely good live-action adaptations. Movies and shows that actually respected their source material, captured the vibe, delivered on the characters, and didn't let us crying into a pillow like certain adaptations we won't talk about. But this list is nowhere complete, so I want to hear from you. What live-action adaptations do you think deserve more love? Maybe I missed your favorite. Maybe you completely disagree with me. Maybe you're already smashing your keyboard right now about how I'd include your pick. Either way, drop it down in the comments below because I genuinely want to see what you guys recommend. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks every live adaptation is doomed before the start. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. As always, my name's Kevin, and I like to talk about things that I find interesting.